Hey, Real Talk Spectrum community. Today we're going to talk about politics and democracy. But I'm not going to talk about Democrats versus Republicans. I'm not going to talk about President Biden versus former President Trump. I just want to talk about the system of it and how democracy, the way I believe you and I think about it, the way people who immigrate to the United States think about it, that version of democracy is not only dead, but has never existed. Let me ask you a question. Which between System A and System B on the screen here do you think currently represents a political system for the United States? I'm going to go through just a few of the bullets describing them, not all of them, just to give you an idea. System A, definition. A system of government where citizens elect representatives to make decisions and pass laws on their behalf. Definition of System B. A system of government where power is concentrated in the hands of a small group of people or a single class. Political power, definition for System A, is distributed among elected representatives who are accountable to the people through regular elections. Political power for System B is held by a few individuals or families, often based on wealth, social status, or military control. And the last one I'll give you is participation. Citizens have a significant role in the political process through voting, running for office, and engaging in public discourse from System A. And then participation in System B is citizen participation in the political process is limited or non-existent. The ruling government makes decisions with little to no input from the general population. Now you can pause the screen here, or pause the video rather, to look at the rest of the definitions in the descriptions of both. I am not going to reveal which one it is in the video. Instead, I want you to engage in conversation and leave me a comment, and then I'll be happy to respond there and confirm which one it actually is. What I'm really curious of is, are you finding that after reading these and looking at these side by side, is there much of a difference? Right? There clearly, one is, a system versus another system by name and by definition. But is there really, even by definition, the words on the screen, and then also in practice, are there really many differences in how these play out? Comment and let me know. We vote to allow someone else to vote for us, period, at every level of government. Do you really know who you are empowering to vote on your behalf? I don't. And if you don't, then why do you vote for them? Because you're told to participate in the process? And then once the elections are over, does everything go back to normal day-to-day life for you? Or do you stay on top of all the bills and legislation that's being passed? How do you stay on top of legislation and bills that are passed if you are someone who doesn't but wants to? It's difficult. It's time consuming. At least, my opinion, that is, because you have to go to congress.gov, and I've done this before just to take a peek. But the volume of things that are being raised there, just the enclosed nature of it, like you can see, even if you can, right? Even if you can see it, it doesn't mean that you can reasonably intercept those provisions and bills, legislation that's being proposed and voted on, right? So then what if you don't like what your voting proxy, right, the person that you have empowered to vote on your behalf, what if you don't like the way they're voting? What if that doesn't align with your beliefs, values, etc.? What do? You don't re-elect them for 2 to 4 years from now, whenever the next election cycle takes place. How do you know what they're even thinking legislation wise? For example, there was a recent discussion on decision on the automatic draft registration that I'm sure scares a number of people that have kids. Definitely scares me as someone who has 2 boys. And it scares me, and I'm even prior military. And fortunately, the legislation only called for an automatic draft registration, not the actual draft, like automatic draft itself, once you hit a certain age. But I just still wonder, where did that even come from? I was sitting around, I see the news pop up. I'm like, okay, out of all things that is happening, right, across the country, whatever, military wise, choose your political topic of the day, of the week. Like, why is that one coming up, and what's the purpose and the reasoning behind the time of that being passed up for review and acceptance? Is this just a step of a larger plan? Like, who knows? But we're not privy to that decision, even just making it on the ballot for decision, so to say. My perspective is that the United States of America is in need of a political system overhaul from the ground up. And by ground up, I mean, for instance, how does candidate nomination work? How is the public involved with it? I'm not talking about the choosing from the people that are on the ballot when you walk into the booth, the voting booth. I'm talking about, what is the process for those people that you're voting on get onto the ballot? We don't participate in that process. At least not the way I understand it. And then, why are there only 2 options that naturally pit us against each other? And then we pick a side, we follow, and we feed into the elections akin to combat sports. You want this person to win versus that person to win, based on really no substance. All you know about that person is what you see on TV. And That's true. What are you talking about? A boxing match, a UFC match, or a political race? So it's a combative style that we all feed into, as opposed to navigating things with diplomacy and decorum as a group that considers multiple points of data, multiple pieces of information to aid in decision making or the voting process. So the system itself is binary and rooted in duality and divisiveness. Which is the same for all of the typical rotation of topics during every election cycle, at every level of government. Same rotation of topics are dualistic and divisive in nature. You have to stand on this side or that side on these issues. It can't be a third or a fourth vantage point or an option. Or at least they're not presented for vote. I mean, technically, you can choose another way, like a third option. I did it during the last presidential election. I didn't vote for either Biden or Trump. I wrote in another candidate, third party candidate, because I just didn't like either option. And I can't subscribe to the whole, well, choose the lesser of two evils methodology. And again, this is just me, my perspective and just my view of it. You can say that it's wrong and I'm hurting the impact or the outcome of the voting process, the election process. I'm just doing what I felt. I just did what I felt. If you don't understand why you're doing something, then why are you doing it? Right? That's just the way I'm kind of wired and the way I'm thinking about it. I think the democracy that we envision is probably more of a direct democracy, where the full candidate nomination process is by popular or majority vote of each citizen. And I know historically there has been issues with the definition of citizen itself, so that also needs to be worked through as well. And then once the names are on the ballot, the election process itself, the voting itself, should be by popular or majority vote. And then any bill or legislation should be reviewed and independently voted on by each citizen as well. Again, don't harp on the word citizen. I know there are citizens, there are U.S. persons and things of that nature, but let's just say the qualified voter, which again probably needs to be a part of the overhaul itself, right? And I believe today, 2024, there's technology that allows for that level. That's truly large scale, obviously, millions of people. But we have the technology to allow for that to happen today, as opposed to when the Constitution and our political system was first founded. And I I'm giving you my perspective, some thought for today. I certainly don't have it all figured out. I'm sure there are huge issues to tackle. Some that quickly come to mind are just verifying everyone's identity to help combat fraud, identity fraud. There could be risks to the voting platform itself, right? The voting system itself. Being susceptible to hacks, external, or could be some insider threat that could be corrupting or rigging results. So there are certainly some issues to work through. I just think we needed a fundamental change in the system that we've had that fosters and continues to foster corruption. It limits the effectiveness of benefits down to the everyday voter or citizen, not U.S. person. And again, it perpetually divides us 50-50 down the line, where we're being forced to take a position on a very limited amount of information. So just wanted to bring this up. It's a thought-provoking topic for today. I don't pretend to have any answers as to what it should be, but I just think this problem has been around for a really long time, and I don't hear it being talked about. Maybe it's too massive, requires too much energy. Again, going back to who has time to really follow and participate in the process. I get all of that, myself included. Where would it even start? I don't know. But I think this is a topic that needs to start gaining some traction. For the future. So, curious to see your thoughts on this topic. Leave me a comment. Nothing but authenticity was there just now. And that's it today, community, for Real Talk Spectrum. We'll see you next time. Thank you.